right, glad to have you back on the Money Show here on Arise News. And Governor Pedro Obaseki of Edo State in Nigeria says he would not be contesting his disqualification from the primary election process of his current party, the All Progressives Congress. Well, that reaction came after yesterday's culmination of a low-grade war that has been raging between the governor and his former political ally and the national chairman of the party, Oshiomhole. Reacting further, the governor called on his supporters to remain calm and wait for further instructions. However, going by latest reports, is yet not confirmed by the governor himself, he may have played his hand by joining the main opposition party, and that's the People's Democratic Party, in a bid to test his popularity in a state that he has governed for the last 4 years. Joining us now to look at all of this is Dr. Pedro Obaseki, a top-notcher of the All Progressives Congress, Chief Executive Officer, ACC Broadcast Multimedia Limited, and the former Managing Director at Dark Communications, Don Pedro Obaseki. Long time, good to see you first again. Welcome to the program.
Welcome, sir. I wonder if there's any relation between himself and Obaseki.
And Obaseki, yeah, I think so. Don, how are you?
I'm okay, man.
Good.
A long time.
Long time, very long time. Good to see you. All right, the incumbent governor has been disqualified based on what the committee says are anomalies in his HSC and then the NYSC. There was no match in his certificate. What's your sense of the basis of his disqualification?
You see, it reminds me of Exodus 9:12. It said, "But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he hearkened not unto them." And with that, I will say that is exactly what our former governor and the hitherto suspended chairman of the APC, Mr. Oshiomhole, just did. It shows that there was total lack of sincerity, total lack of transparency, and it is even worse that a man who once upon a time, in our most recent history, as recent as 2012, when he was running for his second term in office, could not produce his own primary 6 certificate, to the extent that the day that certificate was subpoenaed by the tribunal, the very next day, the State Records Department of the State Ministry of Education got burnt down. And there it went. But be that as it may, it is a show of shame. It shows that there was a huge propensity by those who ran the process, led by a most obviously very unethically biased umpire in the person of Mr. Oshiomhole, to skew the entire process. It is even funnier when you see the reasons or read the reasons that it demands higher school certificate, which everybody in Nigeria knows. In those days, they either do remedial or they do ICE, which is stated clearly there. It is left for him to have asked the institution if whatever was claimed by Mr. Pedro Obaseki was falsehood. He didn't do that. What you found was Jankara justice, Bole Kaja justice. That was what happened. You are telling a man who the University of Ibadan came out in an unusual publication to say this man attended our schools. Not stopping there. They said he had I was a university teacher. I was the ASU financial secretary once upon a time. And the codes are clear. Once the university finds that you meet their minimum requirements to be admitted, Mr. Oshiomhole has no local standing at all to now begin to question the veracity of that result. You now say, okay, Obaseki, that there was an eye missing in his National Youth Service Corps certificate, something that was not a problem in 2016, something that the then opposition party PDP chairman, Chief Dan Obi, went from one court to the other challenging these very same certificates and all the court judgments that were rendered to us then, just 4 years ago, less than 4 years ago, exonerated Mr. Godwin Obaseki.
Yeah, but the appeal, the panel will argue that what they're trying to avoid is what happened to them in Bayelsa, where a day to the swearing-in of the governor Lyon, he lost. I mean, he couldn't become governor just because his deputy. His certificate was faulty, and this is the same man who had been to the, I think, Senate or something like that. You know.
Oh, beautiful. That is the major reason why the APC, what they just did, is a fraud. Number one, the problem with Mr. Deputy Governor's to-be of Bayelsa was not the veracity of his certificate. It was the veracity of multiplex names, where he swore to 12 different affidavits on 12 different names. That was a different issue. Number two, the fact that you are, okay, this is clear. The other ones that were screened, I don't want to mention his name. He only submitted his secondary school WAEC result. We have not filed already. They have not completed the INEC nomination process. What the Nigerian Constitution requires is not even a certificate. The Supreme Court just laid that to rest in the case between President Muhammadu Buhari and Mr. Atiku Abubakar, that the only thing they needed to prove was to prove attendance, because the Nigerian Constitution states clearly that for you to be governor or president, you must have been educated to secondary school level. It did not say you must present.
Exactly that. Dr. Don Pedro, let me intersect here. Because if we're talking about rightful educational qualifications, surely the burden of proof remains with Governor Obaseki. It is his responsibility to turn over those qualifications, those certificates, and he has failed to do that. What about his high school certificate? Why was he not able to tender that proof?
It is not your position to pass judgment. You are a broadcaster.
I'm asking a question. Sorry, sir. I'm asking a question. As a matter of fact, it is Obaseki's responsibility to turn over his own educational qualifications. He has failed to do that. Is this not the rightful outcome of somebody failing to do said thing?
No. I beg to differ. They did not say he did not submit his certificate. Please go back and read what the man said.
Yeah. Don. What my colleague is trying to point out is that whatever the issues are, the burden is on the incumbent governor to prove otherwise what the panel has come out with, and that's why there's an appeal committee. And he said it's not going there.
All right, Andy, can I ask a very simple question?
Go ahead.
Do you know the day, the time that Mr. Adams Oshiomhole made his broadcast, released the results? I will tell you. He released the results at 2:30 p.m. yesterday, Friday, June the 12th. He made a national broadcast starting at 2:30 p.m., 14:30 hours GMT. Meanwhile, in the released timetable of the APC, the day for appeal was, and the only window of appeal was Friday. Go and look at it. Friday, June 12th. And that was to end at 5 p.m. All right. So what he only did was to... please let me... can I finish?
Go on.
What he did was very simple. He made the announcement less than 2 hours to the expiration of the appeal window, which means he never wanted anybody to appeal ab initio. So the governor is in Benin, in Edo State. Mr. Adams Oshiomhole makes his pronouncement in Abuja at the Federal Capital Territory, 450 kilometers from Benin. And he made the announcement 2 hours to the close of the appeal window. He released the results 2 hours to the close of the appeal window. In the released and authenticated and submitted timetable, it states there clearly that they will release the results on the 11th of June. He didn't do that. They released the result on the 12th of June at 2:30, on the same day where at 5 p.m. the appeal closes. So nobody is even appealing because the window is closed. Please look at it carefully. You see, the only thing I want to say here quickly, I will just quote Edmund Burke. He said, the only thing necessary for evil, for the triumph of evil, is for good men to do nothing. And that is what is happening here. And I think it is obvious by what Mr. Oshiomhole had done. He had actually opened the floodgates of exactly what transpired when he himself was in office, when he had to face down a godfather in the name of the late Mr. Tony Anene. And we are going to do that again. There is a saying in Benin, Edo Yuma, I will translate. Edos don't need to hold a meeting. We don't hold town hall meetings, but we will do what is necessary to save the patrimony of our people.
And what is that?
And that is
Thank
what
you.
we are doing here.
And what is that?
You see, he who laughs last best.
No. You said you will do what is necessary. What is that?
No, it's very simple. What we are seeing now is Mr. Oshiomhole is involved in what you call a Pyrrhic victory. A victory where you inflict so much devastation on yourself.
You have not answered my question, Don. You say you do, Edo people don't hold town hall meetings. They will do what is necessary. What is that? What are you going to do?
I don't know what the governor will do because I am not the governor. I am not in his heart. There is no art yet to tell the mind's design on the face. But as Pedro Obaseki and the millions of Edo voters, we are going to force the government.
This has definitely been an animated conversation so far. We will continue this conversation after this very short break. Please do stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We are still joined by Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, who is a top-notch of the All Progressives Congress and Chief Executive Officer of the ACC Broadcast Multimedia Organization, and he's also a former Managing Director at Dark Communications. Before we went on break there, Dr. Don Pedro, you were fighting voraciously for us to understand that Obaseki has been treated unfairly. I want to put to you again, if you could just start with clarifying what the issue is. It's a conversation over his high school education, is it not? And you're saying because the University of Ibadan have come out, something that they don't usually do, and have verified Obaseki, saying that he was in fact a student of theirs, does have these qualifications, you think that that's enough. But I'm asking you, do you not believe that the burden of proof remains on Governor Obaseki to dispel these rumors, these allegations that he is not qualified?
I have told you clearly, without mincing words, that the APC party chairman has skewed the process already by making it impossible for him to even make an appeal. I have given you the express timelines whereby the appeal process was to end at 5 o'clock of the same day that Mr. Oshiomhole made his most fallacious allegations. And I have told you clearly, which is also in the public domain, that it was only 2 hours to the end of that appeal process.
Did that come as a surprise to Governor Obaseki? Was he not aware? Or was he expecting to be verified? Was he expecting to be passed on? Or do you think he was anticipating this very same issue? If that is the case, and he was expecting Oshiomhole to hamper his success in this way, wouldn't he have had that appeal ready? Wouldn't he have already turned over these certificates?
Can I ask you, madam, how
No, madam,
did you...
Sir, sorry, you can't ask me. Actually, please do answer my question first.
No, you are asking a most leading question that a journalist shouldn't be asking. I'm sorry to say. How are you asking me a question, asking whether the man knew the result already? He did not.
I didn't ask you if he knew. I asked you if he was expecting this outcome.
How can he know the outcome of the process?
It's semantics, sir. I didn't say no, and I'm not even saying that I mean to say no. I'm asking you, was he expecting this outcome? Is that why he was unable to turn over an appeal, even if it was a 2-hour window? Did the result come as a surprise to him?
When he came out of the meeting, during the time of the interrogation process, which was about on Wednesday, he made a press statement, which I saw also on Arise TV, that from what had just gone down inside, I wasn't there, he is not expecting justice. You cannot expect justice from a most biased umpire.
All right.
Who for the
let's go to some other issues.
Now to get this clear,
okay.
There is nothing in all Edo people are angry. There is nothing in what has just transpired that called to question the veracity of the results of Mr. Governor. There is nothing in question that has called to question the authenticity of the qualifications of the governor. What they have done is share jabberwocky, that is giving a dog a bad name simply because they want to hang it ab initio. That is what transpired. But I will tell you that this is a clarion call for all Edo peoples. This is not Godwin's fight anymore. This is the fight of the Edo people to claim our collective patrimony.
Well, some other people in some other camps would tell you it's basically the governor's fight. But that aside, this is just, we must put this in perspective. This is just the culmination of an ongoing battle between Obaseki, the governor, Obaseki's benefactor, Oshiomhole, and the governor, himself. Don't you think that the governor was ill-advised going into this battle with the chairman of his party, who made sure he became the governor against all odds?
Okay, let me say this quickly. And I quoted something a while ago. I said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Godwin has made it clear in several interactions with the media that the issues on ground, and many of the foot soldiers of Mr. Oshiomhole, including Mr. Oshiomhole himself, has made it clear that it is because the governor has refused to do politics the old way. The governor has refused to allow Agbereusing and a motor park democracy to remain festered in Edo State, a state that is so upwardly mobile with maybe one of the most educated sets of persons in this country. That is what the issues are. And if you have said that he has to find a way to have resolved this crisis, there is a saying in Benin, this is better to go home fighting, that here this man fought bravely and died, than to refer to your father tomorrow and say, here the man saw a fight and ran into the bush, a coward. We are not cowards where we are from. We are with the governor. And except the little band of political brigands who are bent on fleecing away our collective commonwealth, this will not fly.
You talk about Agbero politics, but it was the deputy governor, to Obaseki, the governor himself, that took thugs to the chairman's house, to prevent the chairman, not only to his house when the CBN governor came there and he addressed and said, look, I haven't come to address thugs. It was the deputy governor who did that. Because you were talking about Agbero politics. Who is then playing Agbero politics here?
Andy Amogo, please don't turn this on his head. Because we knew that it was the thugs in the house of the chairman that attacked the convoy and shot at the convoy of the deputy governor and the governor, and the convoy that was having the Oba of Lagos. Why did Mr. Oshiomhole apologize to the Lagos state government? Will he apologize for what he did not do?
You're the one seemingly turning things on its head. That's not what the report says.
payroll. Please, seriously, what we are seeing here is a play down of people who are bent on depleting our commonwealth, and that will not be allowed to happen.
Is it fair to say that Governor Obaseki was able to become governor as a result of that type of political playing?
That is not true. That is not true, sir. Madam, in an event on sometime in 2006, I was sitting in the hall when the chairman of Arise Television, the honored chieftain, in an event organized by Godwin Obaseki, he was the MC, he was the master of ceremonies, to raise 1.5 billion naira for Mr. Oshiomhole, who has just come out of jail, to become governor of Edo State. So if Mr. Oshiomhole did that later, 8 years down the line for Godwin, it is just one good turn deserving another. We have to understand that you cannot sit in the public domain as public broadcasters and begin to side with persons who obviously
No. Don, we're not siding anyone. We're just trying to balance the issues. Let me ask you this question, Don. Thomas Okosue, former Speaker of Edo House of Assembly, says making Obaseki governor is Oshiomhole's biggest mistake. A former Speaker of the Edo House of Assembly, and that he must be regretting it. That Oshiomhole fought everybody to give the ticket to Obaseki.
Okay, let me tell you where this another pari pursuit. I will also quote another speaker of Edo State House of Assembly, Mr. Festus Ebeya. He said that the biggest mistake Godwin made is making sure that Adams Oshiomhole became the APC national chairman, because he supported Mr. Adams Oshiomhole, went and made all delegates to turn to Adams Oshiomhole against the former sitting national chairman of the party, Mr. Odigio Oyegu. Let's not play politics of the market.
We'll talk about Odigio Oyegu when we'll come back from this break.
Yes,
we'll talk about Odigio Oyegu, what he said.
Absolutely. We'll be looking forward to that. Dr. Don Pedro, please do, if you could hold on.
I know.
It's my victory on November 12th. God bless you.
All right. No, we're not ending.
Stay where you are.
Okay, all right. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Let me take you up on this. The former chairman of your party, Oshiomhole's predecessor as chairman of APC, Odigio Oyegu, he calls it, what has happened, a hatchet job, and says APC should reverse it, otherwise that face dire consequences. Do you see your party doing an about face? Just briefly.
If I know Mr. Adams Oshiomhole well, he's a man who thrives on a kamikaze, a self-suicide, and is doing irreparable damage to this party. It is clear. You will see what has happened in the last 1.5 years. We are a party that before he came in, had 27 governors. And if Godwin leaves the party
Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, it's been an interesting discussion, to say the least. It is time now for a short break. And when we come back, we shall be talking to Ibukun Oluwa Oyeleke, who is an agile coach and IT project manager, about employability during COVID-19. Please do stay with us.